Hi everyone, this is Gary Wilson and welcome to tonight's live webinar for the Investor Agent Training Program. And again, some of you from time to time will have come through the flipping program or the rental program where we teach you far more in depth how do you actually buy rentals the right way, how do you actually flip homes the right way. They're more in-depth programs just focused on those two particular subjects. There's others out there, but they're so closely related to what we do as brokers and agents that some of you decided to take it to the next level and do that. So congratulations for doing that and welcome aboard. Most everybody who signed up is logged on here. Let me do a quick check of the attendee list. Hopefully we got some good. We've got most of the new folks. Let's see here, and I love having the veterans on board, so welcome back, you guys. Let's see. Okay, great. We're in good shape. All right, I'm going to reduce my panel, so I'm not going to be able to see if you've typed in a question here until I bring that panel back over. So let's see here. There's more people logging in. Hey, Carl, how you doing, buddy? All right, Carl, you're gonna like tonight, okay? All you new folks, definitely pay attention. And what I would do is I would focus tonight and just take a few notes. And then tomorrow when you get the recording, you can replay it. Again, you can do it on your phone, with the free app. But you can stop and start and pause it at strategic points, because what we're going to do tonight, this is what we call a keystone activity, okay? Keystone is sometimes better known as a cornerstone. In a building, if you think about a building, when you lay the cornerstone correctly, the rest of the building falls in line, all right, much more easily. And that's how critical this activity is. This activity alone will eliminate or reduce the criticality of other activities dramatically if you nail this one, all right? So let's, before we get into the content, though, a real quick introduction. First of all, welcome aboard all the new folks into the program. We're glad to have you here. You don't necessarily have to participate this first night. You can if you want to, but generally after about the fourth week, you'll have a little bit more experience under your belts. You'll have more questions, and when you start through the marketing, you'll definitely have a little more input to add, and we appreciate that, okay? So what we've been doing, guys, is since the week between Christmas and New Year's, we started new by covering the data in this program, okay? And we covered the first two modules a little bit more in depth. I don't think we did much on the third module. Then we got into the fourth module. So for the new folks, don't worry if you haven't gotten modules 2, 3, and 4 yet. You're going to get them at 7-day intervals based on when you open up the prior module. And module 4 is where you get all of the marketing. Okay. Now we have literally spent let's see, February, March, April, May. We spent greater than 4 months, close to 4.5 months, just on the marketing material. So when you join the program, at the end of the month that you join, you all get access to the membership site, where on a database we have housed all of the webinars. They're all recorded, of course, and they're cataloged by subject matter. So you can pull up and download any module you want at any time, and it's yours to keep forever for free. You keep it forever. It's yours, okay? So you can review anything you want to review at any time. You can study other marketing campaigns. I highly encourage you to hold off if you've not gotten through the first 3 modules, and if you've wondered, the reason why we wait and only load up the membership section once a month with the new students is at least we improve our odds of having you guys hold off till the 4th module before you start marketing. But the secret's out once you get access to the membership site. So let's say you join the program the last week of the month. A week later, you'll get access to the membership site. Obviously, the marketing's all out there. You can grab it, download it, and start using it. We just want you to wait until you get the basics down first, okay? So that's a little bit of a review. That's where we've been. That's where we come from. And where we are now is I'm responding to questions that I get from students and feedback from one-on-ones, and also feedback from these webinars, and also feedback in the actual classroom. And tonight, the reason we're covering this has come up, the subject has come up a lot lately, is where do I start when I get clients, I'm looking for properties, and that's what we're going to do tonight. Some of you have seen this before, and but some of you haven't because you're some of the newer students. So tonight we're going to go over the 3 things here, at least 3. The first thing is what's called a school report. Okay, and go ahead and write down in your notes, number 1, school report. The next thing I'm going to cover is a website called melissadata.com. I'm actually going to demonstrate it live for you, okay? And I'll have you give me sample zip codes. Now, for Lana and some of the other Canadian folks, you recognize early on that Module 1 for you in Canada is different than what the students in the U.S. see. We use Canada Post up in Canada, of course, and we use some different material, different websites. So what I'll do, Lana, I think you've already gone over that and gone through it. If you want me to cover that, Lana, just let me know if you're comfortable with it. I'll leave it alone. I think right now you're the sole Canadian online. I could be mistaken. By the way, I'm going to be teaching in Ottawa again towards the end of the summer, but I've got a trip to Ireland to make. Oh, by the way, Lana, I was in Toronto last weekend. Went to Toronto Island. So wonderful place, had a great time. In any case, number 2 is Melissa Data. Number 3 is I'm going to show you a planning commission website and show you how you use that in your research when you're determining the best areas to be working with your investors. And the good news is, even in Canada, we have what we call planning commission websites. They're usually at the municipal level. You've got province, you've got county, and you've got municipalities in Canada, just like we do in the States, although in the States we call them states and not provinces. But counties are essentially identical between Canada and U.S. I don't think there's anybody on from Quebec, the province of Quebec. We've taught up there before, but I don't think there's anybody online here. So Lana says she's comfortable with Canada Post searches. Thank you. And oh, you're welcome. Thanks, Lana. Any case, let's jump in here, guys, because we've got a lot to try to cover tonight, and I want to take my time and allow you guys time to absorb this and digest it. Again, if this is a refresher for you, stay on, because you just like anything else in life, repetition is the mother of success and the mother of learning. And the more you do something, the better you get at it. So I'm going to reduce my panel. And so I'll bring it back within 10 minutes so I can catch up on questions. So hang on, everybody. And here we are. All right. Back to the basics, back to the beginning. This report is what we call a school report. Okay, so go ahead and write that down, SCHOOL. And up in Canada, we don't use school data. We actually use area data up in Canada. Okay. Now, if you notice across the top, there's different names here. Hopewell is a school district. Even though there's the district number here, both columns, active and sold, reflect information for one school district called Hopewell. Butler's next, South Butler, Mars, and Seneca. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 school districts represented on this page. Now, depending where you are in the country, okay, if you're in U.S., that is, if you're in the U.S. and you're using the version that shows school information, in some states, it's better to use school district as your highest level. And I'll explain more about that in a minute, so just hang on to your hats and write that down. In other states, it's better to focus on your high school name or high school code, okay? Because at some states, like Virginia, for example, school districts, your education system begins at the state level and goes to the county level, and you do not have school districts beyond the county level. And that's true also for a number of other states, all right? However, states like Pennsylvania, you could have multiple school districts within a county. So in Pennsylvania, we use school district. In Virginia, we would use high school code or high school name. And the reason is an area served by a high school is a pretty good size area. You know, it's going to service a couple of junior highs or intermediate schools and several elementary schools, altogether encompassing a good share of the population. So it's an ideal size. Okay. So what we do is this. This is an Excel spreadsheet. Everybody has access to it. If you don't, just let me know and we can have Beverly send it out. I think we've done that a number of times. I think it's included in the course material. And for every school district, so what you're doing is you're doing an MLS search, and you start off, the first highest level criteria is school district, okay? So school district in this case is going to encompass these 5 plus another, I think, 20 or so in the county we use as the example. This is just one of several pages, in other words. All right. Now for each school district, we want to see what's active and we want to see what's sold. One column for active, one column for sold for each school district. Okay. Now we want to see the information in price bands. Typically, in most parts of North America, the price bands are $50,000 price bands up to $500,000, and then we do $100,000 price bands after that, simply because there's fewer properties at the higher price points. Okay, that's just why. It's just a function of volume for the range of dollars we're talking about. Now, I want to focus on this for just a moment. All right, the pricing. Okay, this is pretty good for most parts of North America. However, if you're in a really high-priced area, like in Canada, Toronto is second only to Vancouver, for example. But you go outside Toronto a couple hours, and you'll have average price ranges in the 200,000 to 300,000 range. You know, maybe like upper 270s, 280s, for example. Okay, in areas like London, Ontario. You go on to the States. Let's say you're in Chicago. You know, certain neighborhoods of Chicago. All right, there's Lincoln Park, North Shore. Prices are way up there. Okay, and then you go down a couple hours south of Chicago into Peoria, Bloomington, Champaign. You know, you're looking at around 200,000. In some areas, it's even lower than that. I think Peoria, for example, is around 150-ish, something like that. 130, I think, 135. Okay. The point is this would work great for Peoria, but if you're in an area where the average home prices are upwards of 500,000, then you can make these price bands $100,000 right from the start, 100 to 200, 2 to 300, 3 to, so you get the picture here. So I wanted to let you know, the reason I'm pointing that out is this report isn't a static report. You can modify this to match your marketplace. All right. So you just want to have an idea of what you consider luxury. Most parts of the North America, 500 and above is considered luxury. However, you get to places like, you know, San Francisco, Burlingame, you know, Palo Alto, where Stanford University is. I mean, you're not going to find anything at those low price ranges. They don't exist. So luxury up there is like $1 million or more. I think 1.3 million in Burlingame is the average home price, for example. Burlingame, by the way, is just south of the Bay Bridge Tunnel. So in any case, the report is designed to be molded to match your marketplace. This is simply an example, okay? All right, so the basic building blocks of this report is this. MLS search criteria, first school district or high school code or area if you're in Canada, for example, then active, and then all these price ranges. So in other words, this column right here, Hopewell, active, and all these price ranges, each one of these is an individual search result. So school district, active 1 to 150, there's 35 homes that are currently active in Hopewell School District, okay? In 90 days, by the way, this is a 90-day report. Again, that's also, in other words, what's sold in 90 days, all right? Now, being that it's flexible, if you're in really hot areas right now and places around LA, San Francisco, days on market is very quick, all right? So you might want to make this a 60-day report or even a 30-day report. You know, this was made to be, in this example, a 90-day report. Every 90 days you refresh it, because your sold data, you're going to reflect what's sold in 90 days. In this case, 26 homes, priced between 1 and 150, sold in Hopewell School District, okay? All right, so that's how the report is built. Now you use school district, active, and all the price ranges. School district, sold, and all the price ranges. So you have to build all these searches to provide you the numbers to fill in these cells. And that's why we really highly encourage you guys to put on your best salesman hat and see if you can convince your market center to build a report for you and put it on the office website on the resource page so that every agent in the office can benefit from this report. And you're going to know why in about 5 minutes here, okay? So real quick, let me take a pause before I get into giving examples here and how we apply this. I'm going to do that, but I want to check for questions just based on the logistics of how we actually create the report. So let me go to the question box. Hang on one second here. And let's see. And we do get some questions here. Okay. Let's see. Rhonda. Hi, Rhonda. How you doing? Let's see. Rhonda, should we include pendings in with the solds in the score report? Actually, Rhonda, I generally recommend not doing that because a pending is just that, it's a pending. And we've tried it a number of different ways, but it turns out if you just focus on the pure data, what's active and what actually sold, you're going to get better results, because pendings can get delayed, they can get canceled, all kinds of things can happen to a pending transaction. In fact, most of you guys out there have had something under contract fall through. So it skews the numbers, and we've learned, Rhonda, by the way, excellent question, but we did learn through experience to just put the actual solds out there, the actual closed transactions. Good question. So in any case, so by the way, Rhonda, can I show you off a little bit? Let me know. Type yes if I'm. What I want to do is okay. Thank you. So Rhonda, guys, what I want to let you know is, you know how we encourage you to create your own workshop, particularly for a niche group, like in Rhonda's case, maybe Redlands Investor Forum for teachers, or Redlands Investor Forum for electrical engineers, something like that. One of the reasons we have you do that is it's a way to learn small. It doesn't cost anything. It's a small group of people, maybe 10 people, maybe 20. Actually, the average is 20 at your first turnout, the way we teach you to do it. But the reason we have you do that is it's a building block for other activities, other marketing campaigns, like putting on a classroom scenario for your clients. It's what we just finished up last week was the fourth part of a 4-part series on how to put on a classroom scenario. There's other things you can do, like create your own formal investor group through the organization called RIA, Real Estate Investors of America. We have a lot of people in KW who run their own. We have owners of KW market centers who run their own. One of them is kind of famous. She owns pieces of several KW market centers. Her name is the Rehab Queen. Daggone it, I'm drawing a blank on her name now. I can't believe that. But she's friends with Wendy Patton up in the Detroit area. So in any case, she started her own RIA group in Orlando. Another one of our KW folks is Mark Rickert in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and an hour north of Santa Fe. He just in April had his first official kickoff meeting for his own RIA group, because there was not one in Santa Fe. And back to Rhonda discovered that while there was one in Riverside and one San Bernardino, there was not a RIA group in Redlands, where she lives, which is almost exactly between those two areas, those two cities. So she's interested in creating her own, and I've suggested she connect with Mark, because Mark just did it. He'd be a great example for her to follow. And he did say he's more than willing to help Rhonda, by the way. So in any case, kudos to Rhonda. Everybody should congratulate her, because she's actually looking at creating her own RIA group, where it's you actually do collect fee, and you can make money a lot of other ways by having your own RIA group. But I recommend you start small first and then grow big. So in any case, thanks, Rhonda, for letting me do that. Okay, back to the score report. Let's look at some data and interpret it, so we see how we apply this to our investors. Okay, you guys ready? All right, when you look at this report, your eyes should be drawn to areas of the report typically that have a lot of numbers. Okay, like here, Over here, a lot of numbers. Down here, it's like, tumbleweeds and crickets. Okay, not much happening down here. Okay, now when we look at the areas on the report, the cells that have a lot of activity, they tell a story. So let's look here. Butler, between 100 and 150,000. 65 homes are currently active, and yet only 39 have sold in the last 90 days. Okay, what that tells us is some sellers are going to be sorely disappointed because their houses are simply not selling. It's not quite, but almost 2-to-1 ratio. The next level is almost even, 38 active, 36 sold. And we get down here, you can see something that's a little bit more in our client's favor, our seller's favor, which is 11 active, 17 sold. And that's okay. If you're doing business here, God bless you, and you'll get some business out of it. But let's look over here where we have some numbers that tell a much better story. All right. Look at Seneca and look at the second row, 150 to 200,000. If you look, you'll see currently only 28 homes are actively listed, and yet in the last 90 days, 65 homes have sold. If you look at the next row, 2 to 250, 15 active, 39 sold. Next row, 2 to 250 to 3, 13 active, 35 sold. So what that tells us is within the range of 150 to 200,000, 150 to 300,000, for Seneca Valley, more than twice as many homes have been selling than are currently active. All right. Now, some of you get that intuitively. You understand what that is. Well, that's where I want to do business. And that's exactly right. This is where you want to do business. Okay. So for traditional agency, if you're just using your license for owner occupants, if I was you, I'd spend all your time, energy, and money in this area, in this school district, and in this price range. And I know you're wondering, how do I find the homes in that price range? It's a big school district, and you got lower end homes, higher end homes. I'm going to show you that next. Just for right now, just focus on the data on the report, because what this does is this allows you to reduce your efforts, to focus and target and minimize your efforts from the broad, massive ocean of data, all houses, all school districts, all price ranges in your MLS, to specific school districts in specific price ranges where you have people selling and people buying. And my fellow agents, this is where you want to do business as a licensee, where people are selling and buying. Over here, I'll give you an example of one where, let's see if I can find it. Here we go, right here. Hopewell, 2 to 250. 8 homes are currently active, and yet only 1 has sold in 90 days. And I've actually had agents call me and say, hey, there's a lot of listings going up in this area. I think I better get over there and knock on doors and do flyers and things like that. And that's great, except one thing. You might get some sticks in the yard, but unfortunately nobody's buying. Okay? So I wouldn't spend your time, energy, money in the area where there's a lot of active listings, but nobody's buying. Also, if you go to an area where there's nothing currently active, and in the last 90 days a lot is sold, that could be a tough market. I know it's hard to pass it up because you see people want to buy there. There's not a lot of activity. Golly gee, if you could just convince those people, those owners, to sell, you'd be happy. And guess what? You can convince some of them to sell once some other properties are sold. All right. Now, by the way, the reason we like the actual raw data is for this reason right here. Look at South Butler. Okay. Between 450 and 500,000, in 90 days, 2 homes are sold and only 1's active. The ratio for that is a 2-to-1 ratio. That's a good ratio. However, the volume is horrible. 2-to-1 ratio sold to active is good, but there's not enough volume there to keep a lot of realtors fed. So that's why I don't like ratios so much, as I like active or actual raw data. This is raw data. You can't go wrong with this. It won't steer you wrong. It can only steer you right. Okay, now let's apply this to our investors. In the case of flippers, flippers want to sell their homes like yesterday. Once they buy a home and they remodel it and it's been sitting empty for 1 month or 2 months while they've remodeled it, They put it on the market. They want to sell that thing like ASAP. All right. So if that's the case, it's in your best interest and your client's best interest to only flip homes in areas where people are selling and buying. Okay. Now the ratio, you should have more solds than actives. If they're even, that's okay. But it's better to have more solds than actives because it keeps the demand up. And when your flipper remodels a home, it's going to look pretty darn nice, typically better than the average home. So they're going to sell more quickly, and they want to sell in an area where lots of people are buying. That's why this is important to people who flip homes, okay? Now, when it comes to landlords, people who buy rentals, this information isn't as nearly as important when they're buying duplexes like 2-bedroom units and 1-bedroom units and 4-unit buildings and things like that. But if they're buying and renting single-family homes, yes, this information can be important because people who rent single-family homes typically have children, and yes, they're just as interested in the school districts as the homeowners are, okay? So let me take a quick pause here. I just want to make sure everybody grasps the concept of the school report, how you interpret the data and apply it, and why it's so important. So let me bring the panel back over and let me look for some questions here. Let's see. Okay, we got one from Kelly Chapman. Hi, Kelly. How are you? So Kelly is asking, did you say the school report is from a 90-day time period only? Do you think the report data should be ran in different increments, i.e. 30 or 60 days? Yeah, Kelly, that's an excellent question. So this example is a 90-day version. This is, in other words, refreshed every 90 days to capture what's sold in 90-day increments. The active is, of course, it's just active at the time, right? But I will tell you this, as I mentioned earlier, if you're in an area where your average days on market is really tight, like less than 30 days, then you may want to make this a 60-day report. Refresh it every 60 days. If you're in a really tight area where you've got a days on market that's like 15 days, don't be afraid to make this a 30-day report. Okay. In other words, you have to remember this is a format to follow. You have to build it in a way that's in line with your marketplace. Okay. So let me double check here and make sure I answer that to your satisfaction. So Kelly, if you could let me know that makes sense to you, that would be wonderful. Well, actually, I just see your very next statement. Kelly says, good, thanks. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, this is from Russ. Hi, Russ. How far back do you pull the solds, year or 6 months? So it's again, Russ, it's 90 days. But again, if you're in an area that's really slow, and believe it or not, there's areas in the country that are actually slow. There's parts of North Carolina, parts of South Carolina, parts of Utah, parts of West Virginia, parts of Indiana, Illinois, parts of Georgia, even some parts in Florida, okay, they just didn't bounce back like other parts of the country did from this last recession. In fact, some of those areas still have bank inventory that you have to churn through, which is making for an interesting real estate climate right now. You've got such a mixture out there of marketplaces. I mean, we're technically in a shift. We're actually in a shift now. I'm sure if you went to family reunion, you know that we're in a shift now. But bank inventory is starting to pick up. If you use banktracker.com, which is in your material, and you plug in banks in your area, look and see how many have had an uptick in REO activity since January, for example, or just in the last year. Okay, so good question, Russ. Let's see. This is Kelly. Okay, that makes sense. Thanks for your clarity. You're very welcome. And Russ says he's okay too. Okay, let me reduce the panel again, get back here. All right, so right now, even if you're not completely comfortable with this, don't worry, over time, you will be. Just re-listen to this section of the webinar tomorrow. Go through the material again. This is all in the material in Module 1. And it'll make a lot more sense. And just always think in terms of how do I apply this, and that's what really helps you understand it more thoroughly. Okay. So now once we have the school report, we now have a challenge. even though we've narrowed down our activities or search activities, the volume of data dramatically by focusing on price range in school district, okay? In this example, we realized in this school district, Seneca, we want to focus on, for flipping this is areas between 150 and 300,000, okay? Well, school area can be pretty darn big, and there's going to be a lot of areas in there that have houses below 100 and above a million and all over the place, right? So how do we find houses in neighborhoods in these specific price ranges in this specific school districts? And what I'm going to show you next is exactly how we do it. The first thing you want to do, though, is you want to go to your school district website and look and see what zip codes they service. They almost all of them, at least that I've seen, tell you that. But bottom line is it's pretty easy to find out what zip codes are within these school districts, okay? All right, so far so good. Now we're going to skip past this little section right here, which is called zipcodes.com. You guys can play with it on your own. It's literally, that's what it is, zip-codes.com. Okay. And again, we get something like this up in Canada too, by the way. A little bit more precise. Canada Post is actually a little bit more refined. It's more defined than the U.S. postal system when it comes to area and neighborhood data. It's actually an awesome system. Not knocking the U.S. system. I'm just saying that the Canadian version is a little bit more sophisticated, and you can drill down more tightly and more closely. Okay, so what we do is we take the zip codes, okay, for the school district that we're zeroing in on. Again, this is just one example. You might have multiple school districts that make sense for you to focus in on. Okay, we're just going through one as an example. I don't want you to think that there's only one good area for every city or town for investing. That's not true. There are usually 1, 2, 3 dozen areas on an average. Like Charlotte, North Carolina, probably has three dozen, at least that I've identified, areas that I thought would make great areas for investing. In any case, back to this. You take your zip code, you plug it into Melissa data. Now, just to give you an idea here, everybody got this as part of your first initial downloads on the course material. So if you just want to write it down, if you haven't used it yet, or take a screenshot, you can do that too. But it's melissadata.com/lookups/cartzip.asp. So you put that in your address bar, you click on it, and you get something. Actually, I'll show you what you get. Hang on one second. You're going to get something like this. And there it is, Melissa data, right? And you don't have to sign in or register or anything like that. Right, here's where you plug in your zip code. You can see I plugged in here. This looks like a Northern California one. In fact, it is. It's Fremont. Well, actually, it says Fremont right there. I recognize it because one of my favorite people in the world, Gina Hansen, is a team leader for the Fremont, California office, and she used to be my team leader years back. In any case, you plug in the zip code, and you get all of these carrier routes. By the way, P means P.O. Box, just like it says here, so you ignore those. You go down to the ones that start with a C. C means carrier, C for carrier route, and you get the individual carrier route numbers, right? C, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 goes all the way down to C102 for Fremont. Okay, there's a carrier route. So carrier route is like a neighborhood, okay? Now, within the carrier routes or within the neighborhoods, you can see how many apartments are there, okay? Look at that. In C004, there's a lot of apartments, 785 apartments, all right? And there are 182 individual homes, the residential count. The average household home income is $128,000, not too shabby, okay? And I wonder why the value is average value is 0. You can see most of the areas give you the average value for the individual units, okay? So you can see here you've got a drastic difference between carrier route 11 and carrier route 12. Carrier route 11, average home price $671, which is what you typically see around Fremont. And carrier route C12 has an average home price of $108.
So you can see now why we've got to get very, very specific in our search activities. So, but before I get any more specific, let me just show you something here. If you click on this map here, click on map, okay, it's going to bring up the actual map view of the carrier route that the postman takes with the mail. And this is interesting. There's actually two. Oh, I see. It crosses over the highway. Crosses over the 880. Is that 880? Yeah. Nimitz Freeway, they call it. So you can see there's a, oh, I know why. There's a big giant Walmart in there too. So in any case, this whole area is one postal route, one carrier route that the postman takes with the mail. Okay. So let me go back here, and that's an odd one. We'll click on another one. Well, let's just try this one here. That's C22. We'll bring up the carrier route. There's one that's more uniform. So you can see carrier route. It gives you the exact, the road names, where it is geographically. You know you're just kind of northeast of the 880. So for those of you who are Californians in the Bay Area, this should all look familiar to you. Okay, I'd say this is a pretty good area. You know why? There's an elementary school right there. Okay, excellent area, I'd say. Any case, let's go back to carrier route. Right on carrier routes, you can see, you click on the map, it shows you the route, the map view of the postal route for the carrier, which is i.e. a neighborhood. You get to see how many apartments. If you're looking for rentals, it is. You get to see how many single-family homes. And I'd say these areas right here, 446 and 459, those are probably good flip areas because there's no apartments. And yet you go here where there's a lot of apartments, 677, and no single-family homes. That's probably an excellent area to buy rentals, okay? But the bottom line is this. You not only get to see how many apartments are there, how many homes are there, you get to see what people make, which is kind of neat. But more importantly, you see the average home value, okay? Average home value. So hang on to that thought 1 second, and I'm going to go back to this school report. So if we know we should be in this school district in this price range, 150 to 200, 150 to 300,000, excuse me, okay? We get the zip codes for the school district. We go to melissadata.com, plug in a school district, plug in the one individual zip code at a time, brings up the carrier routes, and then we look for carrier routes that have the average home value within that range of 150 to 300,000. And we'll see there's three of them. One here, and one here. Okay? You've got your three areas that are between 150 and 300,000. You know you're in the right zip code because that zip code is serviced by the school district, so you know obviously automatically you're in the right school district. You click on your map view, click one here, click one here, click one here, bring up the map view that I showed you earlier. Okay, let's bring one up now. Bring up the map view. Well, that's an unusual one. Okay. Then you go into your MLS system, bring up your map view there under search. You're going to do a search, but you're going to base it on a map view first, and you draw a polygram that matches this carrier route, this map view of the postman's carrier route. All right. You draw a polygram. You connect the dots at each one of these points as a separate dot. Connect the dot, draw a line, connect the dot, draw a line, connect the dot, draw a line, connect the dot, so forth and so on, until you have as closely as possible matched the carrier route. Okay. Let me go back here and drop that back down and go back here. So now you're drawing your map view for each of the one for this carrier route, one for this carrier route, one for this carrier route, so that you're only searching in areas for properties, you and your investor, that have average home prices between 150 and 300,000 in the zip codes, only the zip codes that are only in that school district.
Okay, so let me do a quick pause here and check for questions, because that's the next level. I just gave you the next step in the process. Okay, so let's see, let's look for questions. Go ahead and type them in, guys. If you have questions, go ahead and get them in there. Again, I know repetition is the mother of learning, so you may have to see this again. But I promise you, when you nail this, boy, you've got it. Okay. Okay. Looks like we're okay on questions. Let me drop my panel back, and let me go back up here. I want to show you another view of melissadata.com. This is another zip code, and this particular zip code is a great demonstration of when you're looking for areas to buy apartments in, you and your clients. Here's an example of a good area for looking for apartments. You can see in this zip code, several carrier routes, and many of them have apartments, 177 apartments. Still has some homes, 133 still has some homes, 142 still has some homes. You can see the average salaries, and you can see that in Northern California, people generally make twice as much as they do in Western Pennsylvania. And the home prices are generally about 5 times more, 4 to 5 times more. Okay, so if you're working with a client who wants to focus on apartments, pull up your zip codes, plug them in, find the ones that have carrier routes with a lot of apartments. And then what you want to do is build your searches, your map view search on your MLS system to mimic or copy the map view of this one, of this one, and of this carrier route, because they have a lot of apartments. You don't want to look at any place that has only 7 apartments. That's just a huge, you might find a good deal every so often, but not as much as the ones here. You're going to find a good deal all the time. All right. So, and again, you can see what people make, and you can see the average unit value, the average cost of the average unit in this mixture here. Okay. So what that does allows you when you're, and again, this is an example of how you would use this when you're working with landlords. Now you can focus on specific areas where you've got a lot of apartments, right here, here, and here, and you also see the average unit value: 120,000 here, 155,000 here, 115,000 here. So you might want to look at some of these in your search results and see which ones have the better numbers, the better, rents that are listed, things like that. Now, don't be fooled here. A lot of people think, well, I'll buy here because there's a lot of apartments and they're very affordable. Okay, but that might be a not such a good area. All right. Down here, even though they cost more, they might be better properties, which means their rents will go up more over time, and so will the values. I know it runs counter to a lot of what we're seeing on the old late night TV infomercials for how to get rich investing in real estate, and it is counter to that. The reason they're selling all that stuff is because people tell them they don't have any money, but the reality is the better investors are buying the better properties. Okay. All right. In any case, that's an example of how you use this for people looking to buy rentals. Well, let's go back to an example of the flipper. So we got our school report. We've narrowed it down to price range within the school district. We grabbed the zip codes. We plugged them in here. We got our carrier routes. So we mimic the 3 carrier routes with the average price range between 150 and 300,000 in this example. Okay. And we draw a polygram, one for each of the 3 of these on our MLS system to match those carrier routes. And then within the polygram, once we have the map view search complete, then we could add additional criteria, like you can get more specific, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, things like that, and so forth and so on. Okay, now I want to show you an example of a planning commission website. Everything I'm showing you here, by the way, all these screens, this is all data from a local planning commission website. So I want you to write in your notes, just write down the phrase, the 3 words, planning commission website. Every municipality, every county in North America has a planning commission website. And the planning commission websites often have a lot of very good information on there that's very relevant to you and your investors. Okay, so here's page after page of data on this. There's an area here we're looking at. It's called Avalon Borough. It's its own zip code, but it technically, according to census, it's an area. All right, they consider that an area or census tract, if you will. But you can see total owner-occupied housing units. All right, the mortgage status, the selected monthly owner cost. Okay, you can see all kinds of the information here. Right, the number of tenants, percentages of tenants. So this is really critical when you're looking with someone who's going to be flipping a home. You really want to know the percentage of owner occupied versus tenant occupied. Right? You can see all kinds of neat stuff here. I want to show you some other information here. By the way, you can see the average age of the housing stock. When it was built, how many people moved in and what time frames. Okay, how many properties based on bedroom count. All right, pretty neat stuff, huh? The average values of owner-occupied properties. Okay, let's see, what else have we got here? Household income. Okay, do you think that might be important to your investors? It probably is. Let's see. Families below poverty value, families above poverty level. Age groups. Okay, married. Single parent. Okay. Let's see. Here's also another view of family income. You can also see different views of income. Basically, is what that's showing you there. Let's see. How about that? You can see how many people are institutionalized. All right. Any case, all this stuff is out there. By the way, here's something really critical. They give you the ratio, the percentage of owner-occupied versus renter-occupied. And the reason this is important is this. When you're flipping homes, you want to be in an area where the percentage of owner-occupants is greater than 2/3. So this would not be an area to flip in. You can flip homes here. I'm not saying you can't. But remember, you want to increase the odds of your clients making the most profit possible the easiest way with their properties. All right. And if they're 50-50 tenant occupied and owner occupied, a lot of people who want to buy might not want to go to the area because they think there's too many tenants there. That's the point. All right. Now, this is an ideal tenant occupied area, an ideal area to buy rentals. Actually, I know that for a fact because I actually bought rentals there before. But that percentage should be between 1/3 and 2/3. So in other words, this is ideal because it's exactly right smack in the middle. It's at 51.5%. But if this number was 15% renter occupied, I probably would not buy rentals there because by contrast, the owner occupant would be 85%, which means that would be a good area for flipping homes. Now back to this example. If this was say 90% tenant occupied and only 10% owner occupied, that's above my 2/3 ratio. So I might not want to buy rentals there because what that might indicate is there's too many rentals. The rents will stay low. It's going to be very competitive with other landlords to try to find good tenants. All kinds of bad things can happen. Now there are exceptions, and I want you to write these down. If you have an area that you think is a decent rental area and the percentage of renters is way up there, 80-90%, if it's near a hospital system or a university system, that's actually what we call an exception, and that's a very good area. You definitely want to buy rentals around hospitals and universities. Second tier areas would be anytime you're within a few blocks of a shopping center, not a giant mall, but traditional shopping center with a grocery store and a few restaurants and a tailor and a dry cleaner and that type of thing, right? If you're within a few blocks of that, that's pretty good. If you're also around public schools, all right, it's particularly elementary schools, that's a good thing. You don't necessarily want to be on top of high schools, but if you're walking distance to elementary schools, then it's primo areas to buy rentals. Okay. All right. In any case, that's just one example, another example of how you can use this. But let's go up here and I'll show you the example of age. I can see in 5-year increments how many people live in this area. All right.
census was done in 2010. It's every 10 years, right? So we're going to have to update this in 4 years. But I can see, for example, the largest segment of the population of this area happens to be between 50 and 54 years old. Now, there's a lot of other age groups that are well represented. This is pretty diverse area. But let's say that was the biggest number by far. Let's say all these other numbers were much lower. Here's why this is important. Let's say you're working with a flipper, somebody who's flipping homes. And if they're flipping correctly, they're going to be typically flipping medium price homes to middle class families who have an average of 2 children. Okay, if you look at a bell curve of transactions, the peak of the curve, the hump, the middle section, is going to be loaded with middle class families buying medium price homes, and they have 2 children. That's the most common likely transaction. That's why it's the middle of the hump, the middle of the bell curve. Well, if your client's flipping a home and they're targeting that audience, that market segment, does that family with 2 children want to move into an area where the largest segment of the population is getting ready to retire? Well, the answer is no. In most cases, they won't. They want to go to another neighborhood where everybody else is 25 to 45 and has 2 children. Okay? Does that make sense? So let me do a quick pause here, because and by the way, these planning commission websites, all you do is you Google it. You can Google any one you want to. When we're done with class for tonight, Google your own, whatever county you're in or a municipality, and see what pops up. I will tell you that the county levels typically provide more data. So this came off of an area, Southwestern Pennsylvania Planning Commission. They have all the counties in there in Southwestern Pennsylvania. Click on the county, and within the county you get all the different areas. So Avalon will be one of maybe 30 areas in the county. Okay, that's how you arrive at that. So in your Planning Commission website, you're typically looking for something called census data or neighborhood data, okay? Or you might even I've even seen them say demographics. Okay, those are 3 kind of typical keywords. We did this in where was I? I was between north of Gainesville, Florida, and south of Lake City, Florida, back in the wintertime. And we were working with one of the market centers there, Ocala. It's actually the market center, Ocala. And we pulled up their county's website and found all kinds of cool data it took us all of like a minute, In any case, I just want you to write that down, because this is going to look different for every single one of you. Every county is going to look different. All right, let me bring back the panel here and check for questions, because I just gave you the 3rd piece, and that's a lot. So I gave you 3 big pieces tonight. 3, and you have to do them in that sequence. Okay, you start with the school report. Once you have your focus narrowed down to price range within school district, then you get in fact, let's just walk through it. Would you guys like me to do a summary? Okay, all right, let's do a summary. Let's go back down here to school report. Hang on one second. We're getting close, and we're right here. Okay, so we start always with school district, okay? Always start with this, the school report, excuse me. And again, just a reminder, and school report could be based on schools district for some of you, could be based on high school code for others, could be based on MLS area in the case of everyone in Canada, okay? So we start with that. Look at the area that has where sellers and buyers are well represented. You got a lot of active listings and a lot of people buying. That's where you want to do business. So we start there. Then we go to Melissa data. Okay. And we plug in the zip codes for every zip code in that school district. This is just one example, by the way. And we look for the individual neighborhoods, i.e. carrier routes, that have the average home price within that price range. Here's one here, 202, 292, and 276. So there's 3 of them there in this example. So we bring up the map view, then split screen, go to your MLS, bring up the map view there for search by map view. Create your search first based on map view by connecting the dots, drawing a polygram, right? And then you can fill in, bedrooms, bathrooms, so forth. That's the second step. And again, the third step is we use all this wonderful Planning Commission website data to validate that this is in fact a very good area for, in this example, flipping a home. Okay? That's the three-step process. Let me go back to my question panel and make sure we got some new questions here. Hang on one second. Okay, so this is Rhonda asks, you said you were going to tell us why to have someone in the office set up a school district search and let everyone use it. Yes, so Rhonda, the big reason is if each of you create your own school report, that's wonderful. It's a lot it takes about 2 hours initially, on average around North America. The students who've done this, it takes them about 2 hours, and then you've got to update it every 90 days or 60 days in some cases, or 30 days. But what I suggest is, because I'm into sharing, is if you can convince your market center to do it, they'll do it for you. The receptionist or the MCA will do it once every quarter. And once it's built the first time, it doesn't take much to update it. You just refresh all your searches, refill the data, and that's it. You don't have to build everything from scratch. So in any case, they put that on the Office resource page of the website. So it's something, you don't make this public. You don't publicize this on the internet. You keep it on your Office's server and you put it on the Office website under the resource page section. That way only you have access to it. Now, you certainly can share it. You can share the school report with your clients. In fact, I encourage you to do that. You just don't want to broadcast it, because if other agents get a hold of this, it's like they've discovered the Holy Grail, So you guys earned this. You deserve it. Share it with your clients. Share it with each other in the program, by all means. But this is not something you put out there where 1,250,000 agents will have access to it. You don't want to do that, okay? It's too sensitive. It's too critical. It's too important. But in any case, Rhonda, so back to your question, within your office, I think other agents could benefit from the school report, especially if they're just using traditional marketing like postcard campaigns or door knocking. It'll help them narrow down their activities to specific neighborhoods with the right properties, okay? In any case, let's see if we got any more. I think that's it for questions, and we're pretty much done for the evening, guys. I'm glad we got through this in the time frame. It took just about exactly an hour. I'd love to hear your feedback on this, particularly the newer students, because you're seeing this for the first time. I highly recommend you watch this again tomorrow on your phone using the free app, or on your computer if you'd like. Again, there's another app you can get to strip off the audio and create an MP3, and you can listen to the audio while you're driving around. Another good idea. But I would definitely do this at least once or twice during the week. And what I want to know is, if you guys have any subjects you want me to cover next week, please let me know. Just shoot me an email or text me, okay? You've all got my cell phone and my email address. Otherwise, what I will do is I'm going to build on what we went over tonight. I'm going to add to it next week. I'm going to add some aesthetics to this technical process that will really help drive home and clarify how you definitively define the right areas for your investors, okay? In any case, thanks you guys for participating tonight. Lots of good questions. I love seeing the veterans online, and I love seeing the newer students. Thank you, Lana, for your comments. I appreciate that. And but Lana, I will be back in the Ontario. I'll be back in the Toronto area the week of, towards the end of June. It's the week of the 20th, but I only will be there for probably a day or so. And I'll let you know when I go to Ottawa. I'll be passing through Toronto, of course, to get there. I'd love to go up there for Canada Day. I know Ottawa is awesome on Canada Day. So anyways, you guys have a great night, a wonderful weekend. God bless you all. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again. Bye-bye.